I would like to start today's entry going back to the recommendation that I made last week of this Opera Turkey that was a recommended channel on my feed on YouTube and that I happen to have found that it's just great. So today it was suggested that I checked one on the not that I checked, that I could have the opportunity of watching one of the most well-known. I am going to call it now an aria, so it is not really an aria. We are going to talk about it. In fact, the very well-known Esultate from the opera Otello by Maestro Giuseppe Verdi. And as it is the case with several other videos, the author of this content has put together a very, very interesting number of recordings from a good number of singers as well, many of which are not, I didn't know many of them, and I am very positively surprised. Among the most well-known names, we have Beniamino Gigli, we have Franco Bonisoli, of course we have Franco Corelli. He included Giacomo Lauri Volpi, Gianfranco Cecchelle, of which I am very, very pretty positively surprised, Gianni Raimondi, Giovanni Martinelli, the very well-known Giovanni Martinelli, Pippo Di Stefano, Giuseppe Giacomini, John Sullivan, Luciano Pavarotti, Mario del Monaco, and Ramon Binay. And these are only the ones that are more widely known by people. But as you can see, the list of artists that he put together in this almost 17 minutes is just amazing. So once again, I'm very happy that I was suggested that I have found this because now it is time for us or for me to start sharing with you some of my findings and call your attention to what I think you should be paying attention to when you watch this video. L'orgoglio musulmano. And the first thing that I want to call your attention to is that you notice something that people think or people say just because as a general understanding or because somebody told them, but not really knowing why is it that this part in the presentation, the introduction of himself by Otello, is very difficult. Many people say because the esultate, because they say that tate is a very difficult part. It is not an easy, but what makes it difficult, and we have explained it in other episodes, is that sometimes a single note is not the difficult part, is what comes before and what comes after. And even though there are a few bars of Otello singing, the truth is that the whole compound of them is what makes it difficult and can break the voice of many singers. That's why it is suggested for lyricos pinto minimum and better a dramatic tenor. In this list, there are a couple of lyrical singers of which you will easily find the difference. For instance, we have Giuseppe Di Stefano, Pippo, who of course manages to sing the notes, but by the end, after the L'Uragano, we notice that Pippo Di Stefano is already not being able to fully support and give all the power to the final part of this passage itself, and that's because that is a lyrical voice. Lyrical voices are not made to endure so many notes with this volume, with this power, with this stamina. We have explained earlier. Of course, if you have a very good technique, you can get away with it in the case of not cracking or hurting your voice, but it will not be impressive. So that was one of the things. There are lyrical tenors, which you will recognize. It is also the case of Luciano Pavarotti, who was also included here. Luciano and Giuseppe Di Stefano are the two main lyrical voices that we can identify very quickly, and that we can. It was the same case for Pavarotti when we talked about Andrea Chenier, that his voice is really not made And forgive me if you like Pavarotti, but his voice is not made for this continuous, powerful, strong chest support. So that's one of the things. The other, I was telling you that I am very positively, very positively impacted by the list of singers, even those I didn't know, because I really think most of them do a terrific job in this area. There is only one thing that in general I didn't like, and that is, if you notice, the starting part has an F, then brings to fortissimo, and then decreases the volume again to F. Remember that these letters, piano, forte, mezzo forte, fortissimo, refer to the volume of the voice. So forte, fortissimo, forte, the singer must start with Esultate! Of course, at the Esultate, remember that the high notes easily acquire high volume. So truth is that it is not difficult for a spinto or a dramatic voice to add more volume at the Esultate, largaliamos. That is not the difficult part. The problem that I found here is that most of them are not taking, not even, oh, forget about the pitch, but on the volume, they are taking it softly. I'm not sure if they feel like they are going to lose control of their voice, but they are singing it softer, more piano than requested. And so instead of "Esultate," they are doing like "Esultate," like trying to sound more explosive. But I have the impression that they are afraid of losing control of losing and cracking the note. Uh, that's one of the general notes that I wanted to make. The other is that you pay attention to what I was mentioning around the lyrical tenors, that they have to go around the whole series of notes because the difficulty is not the that of course has to be expansive, has to be loud, has to be very well recognized above the orchestra, but that you notice that it requires continuous support, because if you sing it to lyrical, nobody is going to believe you, and the orchestra is going to cover the voice of the tenor. L'orgoglio musulmano sepolto in mar. It is not Rodolfo, so it cannot be sung. L'orgoglio musulman sepolto in mar. Remember that Otello is an authority uh, in the field of war. So, same case as Radames, he was given a powerful voice, and so that's what is expected. That all the time, L'orgoglio musulman sepolto in mar, always with every consonant and every vowel very well, brilliantly sounding. Of course, when the voice has the adequate squillo, it sounds much better, because after this saying l'orgoglio musulmano è sepolto in mar, nostra decelle gloria, there is more than one time that you have to recognize when the voice of the tenor goes like explosive, and that's the purpose. Remember, it is not Rodolfo. Nostra del cielo gloria, nostra del cielo gloria. It has to sound like that. Otello was written like that. So that was and that's how it has to continue. Dopo l'arma vinse l'uragano. But continuously the flow and the volume and the impact on each of the syllables that Otello is singing for presenting himself. He's introducing himself with this very short passage. It is not even an aria, and that's what I wanted to share with you as topic 2 of part of this comparison. Pretending that a singer is able to sing an aria just based on a series of, sorry, to be able to sing a whole opera based only on how well a given note is for their voice, or how well suits them an aria, is a complete error. It's a huge mistake, and that mistake is unfortunately more common than one would desire. For instance, you say, you have a nice B or a nice La, or a nice A or whatever the note is, or that you can even reach a do. So you say, you have a beautiful A, then you can sing Turandot because you can sing Nessun Dorma. Only base that you can sing the final part, Vincero, the Vincero. Only base that you can sing the Vincero, the final Vincero. They people start thinking that then you can sing Turandot, which is absolutely wrong. Thinking that you have a nice, beautiful high C then makes you suitable for Il Trovatore. Again, completely horrible mistake. That you have a nice high notes, then that makes you suitable for Canio. Again, horrible, terrible mistake. That you have a nice A, because if I remember well, Otello is not required to reach the do, the C. Since he's not required to sing the do, then if you have a beautiful C or a B, then you can sing Otello. Again and again, horrible mistake. As it was the case for Pavarotti, and his rendition of Nessun Dorma was very good, but people said, he has a beautiful note for Nessun Dorma, then he can sing the complete Turandot. Of course not. He had a beautiful volume, a very brilliant voice, but his voice was not suitable for Turandot. You have that high C, then you sing the whole. Since you can sing di quella pira, you can sing il trovatore, complete trovatore. Again, no. Most of the voices, at least the voices that we know from the list that I just scroll down with you, are doing a very good job with this aria, but this doesn't mean that they are suitable for the complete Otello. And that has to do not only with our misunderstanding of how voices work, but also on the poor understanding that we have on the complete score of the opera. Because if you take a look, now that we are talking about Otello, if you take a look at the whole score, if you watch complete and really pay attention to Otello, then you will notice that Otello is, if not singing 50% of the time, not really singing, he's having some level of participation. So it is not that he only sings the Esultate, then he goes for the duet with Iago, Si per ciel marmorea gioro, which, by the way, has some characteristics that I also shared with you right now. His voice has to sound tremendously above the orchestra because the orchestration in Si per ciel marmorio giuro is very heavy. So you really need to have a very good mature voice to carry on with that, and that's what people say. He sings this. The duet with Desdemona is not particularly difficult, so the one with Iago, okay, and the final part when he dies. So if he can get away with Esultate, he can get away with Otello. No, most likely a voice that is not adequate for the role would be tired already for the second act. He has to be continuously singing in an area of the voice where the tenor voice gets tired very easily because he has to sing out and give a very recognizable presence of his voice among the other singers and to be able so that we can hear him above the orchestra. And just to wrap up, let's not pretend that because we like how any of these singers did with Esultate makes them suitable for Otello. And it doesn't mean that we were not expected to like any of those. I would tell you that I liked more than half of these singers. I really didn't know they would be able to sing it that good, this complicated passage. But when you think in perspective, if that's what they are going to do with a complete opera, certainly not. And it is not only the public who makes this poor judgment based only on the performance of a given aria. Many times the singers themselves only to find out that on stage nobody can hear them. So we have a Roberto Alaña trying to sing Radames. We have other singers pretending to be Don José only because they can get away with La Flor que tu me végete. And moreover, we have dozens of opera managers and managers who represent the singers who think since you have the note, you can get away with it. And again, sorry to insist, certainly not. That is only the best way to harm permanently your voice.